Okay, hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Statikar, and I'll be hosting today's workshop on dealing with menstrual disorders. And today, with me, we have Nehal. Nehal, would you like to introduce yourself? She'll be the co host for us.
Yes, thank you, Stuti. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nehal, and I work as a junior psychologist at MindTribe, and I will be the co host for today. As for the ground rules, this is a non judgmental space. Please be respectful of everyone's journey. Keep your mics and videos turned off. And if you'd like to share something, kindly raise your hand or use the chat box. Over to you, Stuti.
Thank you, Nehal. So, let's begin with our workshop. All right. So, a little disclaimer. This workshop focuses on the psychological and emotional connection between menstrual health and mental well being. And our aim is to help you to understand how emotional patterns, stress, and thoughts can influence menstrual experiences and learn supportive tools to manage discomfort through self awareness, stress regulation, and compassionate body connection. So, our focus here would mainly be on how menstrual discomfort or menstrual disorder is related to our mental well being. All right. So please note that this session is not intended for medical diagnosis or treatment of menstrual disorders. While we will discuss conditions like PMS, PCOS, or dysmenorrhea, it will be from a mental health and self-regulation perspective and not a clinical or medical one. And you're encouraged to consult a gynecologist or healthcare professional for specific medical concerns or ongoing symptoms. All right. Let's begin by sharing our experiences. So, everyone, you can feel free to use the chat box, or you can, maybe use your mic to, talk about what do periods signify for you. Is it experiencing intense and extreme period pain? Is it mood swings, or are there other symptoms? So, what do periods signify for you in particular? Okay, Sri Lakshmi says that today is her second day this month. Okay. Okay, or what about others? What do periods? What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word periods for you? For Kanvi, it's mood swings. Okay, for Sri Lakshmi as well, it's mood swings, cramps. Okay, Navya says cramps too. Sri Lakshmi says that she gets very angry but less nowadays. Okay, Chandana says mood swings again. Okay, what about others? Kanvi says craving. Okay, makes sense. Sonika says painful. Yeah, periods can be painful for a lot of us. Irritability, yes, very common symptom. For Rajeshwari, it's mood swings. Again, something that a lot of us go through. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Thank you all for sharing your experiences with us. And body pain, yes. So you see how a lot of us go through very similar experiences like mood swings, irritability, cramps, body pain, right? Okay. Now, I want to ask you guys if you have ever been diagnosed with any sort of menstrual disorder. If yes, you can again use the chat box to write which disorder, or if you have not been diagnosed with any menstrual disorder, you can just simply write no as well. Because this workshop is going to be for basically everyone, everyone who goes through menstruation, not necessarily if you are going through any disorder. Okay, PCOS. Navya says no. Luckily, not till now. No. PCOD, PCOS. Okay. 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 Anyone else who wants to share? Okay. Shita, PCOD. Okay. All right. Thank you again, everyone, for sharing this with us. Before we start the session, it's a good idea to see how this experience is for every different for everyone, right? The symptoms that we go through is more or less similar, but also it differs in many ways. So, thank you for everyone for sharing it. Okay, endometriosis. Okay. Okay, Sanika says due to high stress level, facing extremely painful periods. Yes. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you again for sharing your experience with us. Now, let us begin with our workshop. Let's start with discussing few of the menstrual disorders. Okay, so our aim here is not to go into the medical details of it, but we are going to see how our mental and emotional health impacts these disorders and what we can do on a mental level to maybe help ease the symptoms that we go through. All right, let's start with endometriosis. Someone mentioned that in the comment in the chat box as well, right? So this is the first one we are going to discuss. It is a condition where the tissue similar to the uterine lining grows outside the uterus, and it can be very painful. But what is interesting is that many women with endometriosis also experience chronic stress, emotional suppression, or a deep sense of being unheard. So there's ongoing research that shows that long-term activation of body's stress response can worsen inflammation and the pain sensitivity. So yes, emotional well-being plays a very real role on how the pain is experienced during this. All right. The next one, a very common and very commonly heard one, is PCOS or PCOD. Now, what is this basically? So it is a hormonal disorder where cysts form on the ovaries and periods become quite irregular. So beyond hormones, PCOS is deeply connected with self-image and self-worth, and women who go through this often struggle with acne, hair growth, or weight changes or weight fluctuations, and that can lead to anxiety, frustration, or even shame in a lot of women. And this is why we must see PCOS not just as a reproductive issue, but also as a psychological and emotional journey of acceptance. All right. After that, we have dysmenorrhea. Okay, so this is basically severe menstrual pain without any underlying medical condition. And what's fascinating is that stress hormones like cortisol can make the pain perception even stronger. So if a woman is under severe emotional pressure, if she's overworked or anxious, her cramps may actually feel even more intense. So, what I want for you all to remember here is that these conditions aren't just about hormones misbehaving. They are also messages from your body. These are signals saying that something needs to be taken care of, something needs your attention. So, when we address emotional well-being along with physical care, our body often begins to heal in more sustainable ways. All right. I hope it's clear till now. Okay. After this, we can move on to the next slide, which is, we will just get a very basic understanding of the underlying causes of these disorders, why it usually happens. So we will take a brief look at the underlying causes of it, right? So, of course, there are physical causes like hormonal imbalances, nutritional deficiencies, or medical conditions like thyroid. But beneath all that, there are also a lot of psychological and lifestyle roots that influence these patterns very deeply. So let's start with hormonal imbalance. So hormones are incredibly sensitive to stress. So when the brain senses any sort of threat or pressure, whether from emotional burnout, overthinking, or long-term anxiety, it sends signals that that changes the level of estrogen or progesterone that is released in our body. So this imbalance can directly affect our mood, our cycle, or even our pain threshold. That is how much of pain we can tolerate, right? Then there is stress and lifestyle, and I cannot emphasize this enough because the body does not differentiate between emotional stress and physical stress. So late nights or overworking or emotional suppression, all of these tell our nervous system that I am not safe. And when the body doesn't feel safe, It deprioritizes non-survival function like reproduction and hormonal balance. So non-survival functions, basically, when we talk about reproductive issues, this is not something, reproduction is not something required for our survival. So when our nervous system is dysregulated, it is basically our body giving message that, we are in danger. So any sort of function which is not a survival necessity like reproduction, that takes a backseat, which is why we, face so much of discomfort during our menstruation, right? After stress and lifestyle, we also, can see that nutritional deficiencies a lot of times can also connect to our menstruation or our menstrual health. When someone is chronically anxious or emotionally exhausted, your body uses up more B vitamins and magnesium, which can worsen mood and fatigue during this time. Okay. Then we have inflammation, which is another key. So chronic stress raises inflammatory markers in the body, making cramps, PMS, and fatigue even worse. And after that, we have what, we're going to focus the most today, which is your emotional factors, right? So prolonged grief, unprocessed anger, or unresolved trauma often quietly live in the body. So the pelvic area especially holds tension when emotions aren't expressed. So when we don't express our emotions clearly, when we don't process our anger, when we don't resolve our trauma, our body holds on to that emotions because that is still stored in your body. So many women, they describe period pain as sharper during emotionally heavy months, and that is not any coincidence. So you guys can also, let me know if you experience the same, like, when you're stressed or when you are anxious, do you feel that your periods become more difficult or your cramps are more painful? Do you experience that during emotionally heavy months or times? Do you experience more discomfort with your cycle? Sri Lakshmi, do you have to share anything?
Ma'am,
Yes.
excuse me, can I ask a doubt? Ma'am, yearly, ma'am, as told, right? Like, if we are not sleeping, like we have stress and work at night, our reproduction process take a back seat. Ma'am, then the cycles become irregular. Is that what you told? I didn't understand that.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that, when our nervous system is dysregulated, when we are in a lot of stress, right, our body is signaling that I am not safe right now. So, our main focus, our main, focus goes on survival mechanisms and not on non-survival mechanisms like reproduction. That is why a lot of menstrual discomfort happens when we are in a lot of stress or anxiety, right? Is that making it any clearer?
Ma'am, it is so it become irregular, more irregular if we have PCOD, etc.
Yes, I mean PCOD and PCOS are basically when our periods are irregular, and a lot of, this can happen due to our stress. So stress can exaggerate these symptoms, if not only cause it.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Okay. So yeah, I can see in the chat box that a lot of you have said yes, that, when you are more stressed or when you are feeling emotionally heavy, you experience more discomfort during your periods, right? So, thank you all for sharing it. Yeah, Sri Lakshmi says it's more painful than usual. Yeah. So, the takeaway here is not to feel guilty or overwhelmed, but it is to realize how powerful your mind body connection is, right? So when you take care of your emotional health, when you rest, when you feel safe, your body doesn't have to scream through symptoms to get your attention, because a lot of times these symptoms are your body's way of asking you to take care of yourself, or to, maybe address things that you haven't addressed yet. All right. So these are some of the underlying causes. Again, these are not the only causes, but these, it could be different for everyone. For some it could be nutritional deficiency, for some it could be just due to stress and lifestyle, for some other people it could be a mix of a lot of these, right? Now, let us talk about, when we need to seek medical support. So let's know how we can listen to our body's alarm. So these are some of the signs that, signal that maybe you need to seek professional help. So first one is if your period lasts for more than 7 days. So if your bleeding continues for longer than a week, it means your body is losing more blood than it should, right? And sometimes this is due to hormonal imbalance. Sometimes it could be due to other medications. But over long time, over time, these kind of long periods can cause iron deficiency and fatigue. So it's best to get it checked rather than wait, because many of us are conditioned to tolerate discomfort and think that okay, it's just a period. But there's a difference between normal menstrual discomfort and the body signaling that something is not right. So that's why we are discussing all these body alarm system. Okay. Then the second one is severe pain which is disrupting work or sleep. So mild cramps or cramps in general are very common. Most women go through it. But if the pain is so intense that you can't function, you can't sleep, or you just constantly are taking painkillers one after the other, that means there is it's not normal, and this could indicate that there could be conditions like endometriosis behind it, right? So pain is basically your body's way of asking for help, not something that you need to push through. Okay. Then third is very heavy flow. So if you feel like you're having a very extremely heavy flow, needing to change your sanitary napkins every single hour, or passing large clots, that is considered heavy bleeding or menorrhagia. So this can deplete your iron levels, and this can also lead to anemia in a lot of women. That is why a lot of women often feel dizzy or exhausted, right? They feel like they're about to faint, right? Then is the next one is missed periods for 3 or more months, which is not due to pregnancy. So missing your period for 3 or more months can be due to stress, PCOS, maybe thyroid changes, maybe sudden weight loss, or other, or hormonal imbalances, and that is your body's way of saying that I am not in balance right now. Okay. Then the last one here is extreme fatigue, dizziness, or fainting. So now what basically happens is we discussed that when we lose a lot of our iron levels, that can cause us to feel dizzy, or as if like we are about to faint. And this is a very important maybe sign, but a lot of times it is ignored. A lot of times we feel that it's okay to feel extremely drained, but yes, there during our periods we do feel like we need more rest, and that is completely normal, right? We feel tired. But if it's going in extreme, if you're constantly feeling dizzy and drained, or you feel like you faint during your cycles, that this could be a sign of heavy blood loss, hormonal imbalance, or low iron. So this is a sign that you probably need to get checked. All right. Let's move on to the next slide. All right. The phases of menstrual cycle. All right. So, how many of you are aware of the different phases that we have in our menstrual cycle? If not, completely, you don't might not be having in-depth knowledge, but have you heard of these terms before? Okay, Aishwarya has, Rajeshwari has, Kanvi has. Okay. Okay. All right. So this is something that it is very important for us to know about our cycle and the different phases of it, because when we talk about menstrual cycle, most people only think about periods, but in reality our cycle has four distinct phases, and each phase brings its own physical, emotional, and hormonal shift. So let us start with the menstrual phase. And this is the phase where the body releases the uterine lining, right? This is the time when you bleed. It's the time when our energy is naturally low because the body is working hard to cleanse and reset, right? That is why it is a good idea to give your body rest during this time, right? Then the next is the follicular phase. Now what is the follicular phase? It is this is when right after our period ends, this is when the follicular phase begins. And during this phase your body starts preparing an egg for release, and hormones like estrogen, they start rising, which means your mood, motivation, and creativity rises too. So you might feel more motivated during this time. You might feel better, you're in a better mood during this time as compared to when you were menstruating, right? After the follicular phase we have the ovulatory phase, and this is the phase where the egg released, and your body is ready for possible fertilization. So you might notice that you feel more confident, social, and even radiant during this time, because that's the part of your hormones working in harmony during the ovulatory phase. After the ovulatory phase is the luteal phase. So luteal phase is when the hormones are preparing for pregnancy or the next cycle. So either pregnancy takes place, or if not, the menstrual cycle begins again. So this is like a cycle that goes on. So this was a very basic biological understanding. If it makes sense, you can give a thumbs up. Okay, great. Okay, now that we have seen what the biology behind this looks like, what the biology behind four phases look like, let's now talk about what each of this phase means for us, right? So let's talk about the emotional and energetic language of these phases, because our hormones don't just affect our bodies, they deeply influence our emotions, creativity, and our social energy as well. So starting with the menstrual phase again. So think of your this as your body's time to release and reset. So just like nature has seasons, this you can consider as your winter, as your inner winter, right? So for example, in winter, what we like to do, we like to slow down, we like to rest, right? We like to maybe just lie in our bed, maybe just do something comfortable, right? So this again is like your body's inner winter. So this is the time for you to slow down, reflect, and let go of what no longer needs. So both physically as well as emotionally. So this is a good time for you to just relax and rest, right? After the menstrual phase is the follicular phase. Now, what does the follicular phase feel like? It feels like spring, like your inner spring. Spring season is what I'm talking about. So, this is the time where the energy starts to return, okay, because you might feel very tired during your menstrual phase, but as you come to your follicular phase, estrogen rises, as we discussed. So slowly and slowly the energy starts to return, and you might feel inspired to try on new things, maybe to set goals, maybe to start some fresh projects. And it is basically a good time for growth and new beginnings, right? Because your energy levels are starting to rise again, your creativity is starting to rise again after your periods. Okay, after the follicular phase, then we have the ovulatory phase. And this is like your inner summer, right? You're glowing, you're expressive, you're confident. This is the time when you might find it easier to communicate, might find it easier to connect with people or share your ideas. And again, it is the peak time for your creativity and social flow, right? After your ovulatory phase is the luteal phase. Now, what is this about? This feels like autumn. It is a time to turn inward. It is a time to reflect and prepare for renewal. Because after the luteal phase, again comes your menstrual phase, right? So this is the time where you have to prepare yourself for your next cycle. So this is time for you to renew yourself. So you might feel that slowly your energy levels might be dipping down a bit, because your body and mind are beginning to slow down, asking for you to take care of yourself and be more gentle with yourself, right? So now when we start recognizing these patterns, like when we start to understand about the various phases of our cycles, we are able to make sense about why we feel so in every different part of the month, right? So why am I feeling more energetic today? Why am I feeling more creative today? Why am I feeling a bit low today? Right? So when we recognize these patterns, we stop fighting our body's natural rhythms and we start flowing with them. Okay, so again, give me a thumbs up if it makes sense. Great. Okay, amazing. Okay, now let's talk about how we can take care of ourselves throughout the month based on the different cycles that we have. So, how we can use this knowledge in our everyday life. So, during your menstrual phase, allow yourself to rest, keep your body warm, maybe drink some soothing herbal tea. You can journal if you want to during this time, and it is a time to honor your body's wisdom and give it the comfort that it needs. Because a lot of us are in the habit of pushing ourselves through. So even when we are going through our menstrual phase, we just try to fight our body's natural instinct to rest. Maybe we are still overworking, maybe we are trying to be as productive as we can during this phase. So that is like fighting your body's natural rhythm or going against your body's natural rhythm. So this is a good time for you to rest and maybe to, give yourself the comfort and love that it needs. Maybe do some self-care, a gentle form of self-care if you want to, right? So this is the time of going inward. After your menstrual phase, as we know, is the follicular phase. Now, this is a time where your energy is slowly beginning to rise. And it is the perfect time for you to try new activities, exercise, maybe, plan some creative tasks for yourself. So choose some, light and fresh food during this time that makes you feel vibrant and alive during your follicular phase. Okay. After your follicular phase, ovulatory phase. Now, during this phase, your social energy peaks. So use this time to connect, to collaborate, to express yourselves better, and you will naturally feel more outgoing and confident during this time. So it is a good time for teamwork and communication for you. All right. Then comes the luteal phase. This is the phase right before your periods start again. So again, it's a time for you to slow down a little bit. Okay, focus on gentle self-care. Try to reduce caffeine during this time and reflect on your emotions. Maybe choose grounding activities like meditation, stretching, or some, spending quiet evenings with yourself. So this is how, you can align your lifestyle with your menstrual rhythm. And when we stop seeing our cycle as a burden and instead we view it more as a source of power and, wisdom, our life becomes more balanced because we are not fighting or we're not going against our body's natural rhythm. All right. Again, if this makes sense, give a thumbs up so that we can move further from here. Okay, great. All right. Okay. Now a question for all of you. Since we discussed all the phases, which phase do you struggle with the most, and what do you notice in your body during that time? So use the chat box to express what you feel about this. What is the phase that you face most difficulty with? So Lakshmi, caffeine is something that causes jitters in our body, right? So it dysregulates our nervous system, and during luteal phase, our body is preparing, for the menstrual phase to happen again. So we want to make sure that our nervous system is soothed, it is regulated. So that's why it's a good idea to avoid caffeine during luteal phase and even during your menstrual phase as well. Okay, so I'm reading the chat box, and most of you are saying that luteal phase is the phase that you struggle the most with. Okay, Chatra says luteal, Mansi says luteal, Sri Lakshmi says menstrual itself because I feel so tired. Completely makes sense to feel, that menstrual phase and luteal phase are actually most difficult for most of the women who go through menstruation. Navya says menstrual phase with cramps and mood swings, but always prefer giving self-care. Amazing. That's the best way to tackle the most difficult phase, by giving yourself as much of love and self-care as you can. Chandana says, very few times I feel due to pain. It's slightly difficult during menstrual period, but I usually feel irritability after my periods. Yeah, it happens very differently for every woman. As you can see that the way our hormones act is different for each one of us. So some feel most irritated right before the menstrual phase, some feel irritated maybe after the menstrual phase as well. Okay, anyone else who wants to share? All right. So, thank you all for sharing your experiences. It is very insightful for all of us to learn about each other and how our cycles impact us differently and how it is working different for each one of us. So, thank you everyone for sharing. Let us now move on to the next slide. Okay, it is a very important one, how our thoughts shape the experience of our pain. So it is very important to note that pain isn't only a physical experience, it is also a mental and emotional one, because the brain interprets pain through both sensation as well as perception. So what this means is that, it simply means that the way we think about our pain can either amplify it or it can ease it, right? So it might not completely make it vanish or go away, but our mind or our thoughts do play an important role in amplifying or easing it. So when we think that this pain will never end or this is so difficult for me to go through, our brain releases even more stress hormones like cortisol, which heightens the muscle tension and inflammation, and that can worsen the pain. So what is happening is that when we are thinking of all these kind of maybe negative thoughts, or maybe some extreme thoughts that okay, this is so difficult, I will never be able to get over this, we are creating more stress in our body. And that stress creates inflammation, and that inflammation creates cortisol, and that cortisol creates feel physically, right? So when we talk about positive self talk, we are trying to maybe relax our body. We are trying to activate the parasympathetic system, right? And this is not about being overly positive. It is about, emotional regulation through language. How can language help regulate our emotions and, ease our pain? So when we, talk kindly to our body, it listens. When we shame it, it tightens. So self-talk is your nervous system's direct line of communication. So, instead of saying that, this pain is never gonna end, say something like, "It's okay that I'm in pain right now, but this doesn't mean that I'm weak." Or you can say that, "My body is asking for rest, and I'm allowed to slow down right now." All right. Okay. Now, let us take a quick look at how nutrition, hormones, and food can impact our cycle. Basically, how food can act as a hormonal support. So, we all know that what we eat doesn't just fuel our body, but it also feeds our hormones, our neurotransmitters, and our emotions. Every bite we take is an information for our nervous system. So when we eat in sync with our cycle, we reduce inflammation, we balance mood swings, and we stabilize our energy. So, for example, having a stable blood sugar level means we have a stable mood. Why? Because when our blood sugar drops, our cortisol spikes. Cortisol is the stress hormone, right? So, when that spikes, it can lead to irritability, anxiety, and fatigue. Similarly, when we talk about taking in foods which are rich in magnesium and B6, that helps to calm the nervous system and support serotonin production, right? So that can help you with reducing your anxiety, irritability, fatigue, and so it is especially beneficial for women who go through irregular periods or painful cycles, right? So, what is proven scientifically that during your menstrual and follicular phase, taking in a good amount of flaxseed and pumpkin seeds can help you increase your estrogen level, and they naturally support ovulation. So these are rich in zinc. So pumpkin seeds and flax seeds are very much rich in zinc, which promote detoxification of excess estrogen. because excess of estrogen is also harmful, right? So it will help to detoxify the excess estrogen produced in your body. Then, during your ovulatory and luteal phase, sesame seeds and sunflower seeds are a good choice because they support progesterone production, and they help to balance your moods by reducing the PMS, like your mood swings basically. So, they are rich in vitamin E, and that is something that helps in soothing inflammation. So, seed cycling is a beautiful reminder that healing doesn't have to be harsh. It can be nurturing, it can be rhythmic, it can be natural. So, when we nourish our bodies with care, what are we doing is that we are communicating safety to our body. And our body begins to heal the best when it feels safe, right? So, it is, however, very important to note here that this is not just a quick fix, but it is a gradual rebalancing method, and it is going to work the best alongside with stress management, when you work on your stress levels, when you have a good sleep, when you are regulating your emotions, right? So this is a little about seed cycling. Okay, now let us move on to the next slide. Okay, let us talk about some of the positive affirmations that you can try during your periods. Now, we have talked about how our mind influences our body's perception of pain and our cycle. So, what do you think are some positive affirmations that you can say during your painful time? You can use the chat box. If you want to speak, you can do that as well. Dwijpriya says that eating this every day feels a bit daunting. See, the thing, because we talked about seed cycling, seeds are something you can simply add on to your food. You don't have to consciously eat it every day. Maybe, maybe top it up on your salads. If you're taking smoothies, putting it over your smoothies, even topping it over your pastas, all the, like, there are seed mixes that you get in the market. So there would be a seed mix which will have all different 5 to 7 kinds of seed in them. So just take that and top it off over your food, over your smoothies, over your salads. So you don't have to include it separately. You can just have it with your regular meals as well. Okay, so let's talk about affirmations. So Sri Lakshmi says, I'm bleeding good and not in pain. I'm safe and protected. Great. Chandana says, what if I take all of them in small quantities? Yes, that is actually how this needs to be taken. It's not that only during my menstruation I'll take this seed and then I have to take this one only during my ovulatory phase. You can take all of them in small quantities every day. This is not just for menstruation, but it has other health benefits as well. So not at all an issue if you want to take it every day. Sally says that in first day of periods, I don't eat anything, just sleep on bed. I didn't eat for 24 hours. This is something that is very common in a lot of women. We, maybe because we are bloated. A lot of us who go through a lot of bloating, we are not able to feel hunger during that time because there's so much of pain and discomfort happening in our stomach, in our uterus, that we don't feel that hunger sensation a lot of the times, which is why we end up not eating anything. But try to make, don't force yourself, but try to make yourself eat at least something. Okay, don't starve yourself for the entire day. Whatever you feel like, even if it is some sort of juice that you want to take, make sure you're eating something, you're giving some sort of nutrition to your body, because your body needs a lot of nutrition during this time. Okay. All right. So thank you all for sharing your thoughts and asking your questions. This means that you all are paying a good amount of attention, and you definitely care about yourself, which is why there are so many questions happening. So good job, everyone. Now, since we were talking about affirmations, let us see what are some of the affirmations we can say during our time to deal with the menstrual discomfort. So we can say, even when my cycle feels chaotic, my body is working to find balance. I'm learning to trust the pace and rhythm of healing. I release the need to control my body and choose to nurture it instead. Each cycle is a chance to begin again, softer, wiser, and stronger. It is safe for me to rest, feel, and release. My womb holds wisdom, not weakness. So, how do you guys feel about these affirmations? Do you feel like these kind of positive statements, compassionate statements can ease your pain? Yeah, great, amazing. So maybe you can take a note of these affirmations and say it during your difficult times when you feel your discomfort is increasing. So these can act as little, pick me ups, little ways of comforting yourself, right? Maybe just changing the way we think to feel better physically. Okay. Okay, let's now talk about something very important, which is the role of emotional release, letting emotions move through the body. So, okay, now, our bodies remember what our minds try to forget. So, when emotions like anger, grief, or fear are suppressed, they don't disappear. They settle in the body as tension. So, just because we have forgotten it doesn't mean that our body has forgotten it. It is still stored in our body. So, when emotions or a lot of these negative emotions are stored for a long time, it is kind of creating emotional stagnation in the body. So for when a lot of women, that tension lives in the pelvic region, which is the space of emotions and sensitivity and creation, right? Your pelvic area, this is where the womb is, this is where creation happens, this is where a new life is birthed. So this is the space of creation of emotion. But when a lot of negative emotions are stored in the body, that causes emotional stagnation. And science has shown this, that emotional suppression increases cortisol and adrenaline, which is the body's stress hormone. And over time, this keeps our muscles tight, especially the pelvic floor and uterus. Right, so tightening of the muscles in the uterus is what is a major cause of having extremely difficult periods or painful cramps. So the result is more cramps, more fatigue, and the cycles feel heavier and more painful. But on the other hand, when we cry, when we move, when we express creatively, whether that's through journaling, through painting, through dancing, what are we doing is that we are allowing these stress hormones to release, right? When we are letting out these suppressed and stored emotions, we are letting those stress hormones to release from our body. So, for example, if we have a lot of anger or shame inside of us, or a lot of maybe guilt inside of us, when we are letting it out through some creative outlet like journaling, maybe through dancing, maybe just through crying, your tears, for example, they literally carry cortisol out of the body. So this is how we can let out through a safe creative outlet. We can let out these negative emotions from our body. So movement basically helps reset the nervous system. So dancing, just maybe putting on your favorite music and letting your body move freely, that is basically expression of your inner emotions, right? So expression restores the emotional flow. And every emotion we release basically is just a second. Yeah, every emotion that we release is one less pain signal the body has to carry. What this means is that healing isn't just about being calm all the time. It is about giving your emotions permission to move. And every time you release your emotion, it is one less pain signal that your body has to hold on to, right? If it makes sense, you guys can give a thumbs up. Okay, great. Perfect. Now, let us talk about another very important topic, which is the brain and womb connection, how your thoughts and emotions affect your cycle. So, we have talked about how, our mind or negative self talk can affect our perception of pain. Now, we're going to talk about it more directly through talking about the brain and womb connection. All right. So, your brain and womb are in constant connection or conversation through a pathway called the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. We don't need to get into detail of it, but what this basically means is that what happens in your mind doesn't just stay in your mind. Your body feels it too, especially your reproductive system. So, when you're under chronic stress, emotionally, mentally, or even subconsciously, your brain releases cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and high cortisol tells the body that we are not safe right now. And when the body feels unsafe, as we discussed, it deprioritizes reproduction. The brain literally reduces estrogen and progesterone production. So that is why many women experience missed periods or irregular cycles or painful cramps when they are under emotional strain, right? And emotionally, the womb mirrors our nervous system. The lower abdomen, the womb, the belly, that mirrors our nervous system. So when you're anxious, your uterine muscles tighten. When you're relaxed, they soften. So your womb doesn't just react to hormones, it also reacts to your sense of safety. So when you make it feel safe, it relaxes, it softens, right? So that is why, mindfulness therapy and even emotional release practices can make a very big difference, because when the mind feels calm and safe, the womb also begins to feel safe and function naturally again. So, think of it like this: your womb is listening to your nervous system, and when you are in flight or fight for too long, your body whispers and then cries for rest, right? So learning to listen to that whisper is one of the most profound form of self-care that you can do during this time, right? Okay. Now let us understand the womb as an emotional space. So, the womb is not just a biological space, it is also an emotional one. So, many women notice that their cycles reflect their emotional state. When they're holding on to fear, shame, or grief, their body often feels heavier, tighter, or more painful. And that is because the womb and the limbic system, which is the emotional brain, they are deeply connected through the vagus nerve and the HPO axis. Again, we don't need to go into the details of the science behind it, but we just need to know that when we experience emotional distress, the nervous system signals to the it signals the pelvic area to contract. So it is the body's way of saying that I'm protecting you. But when that tension becomes chronic, it can manifest as irregular cycles, it can manifest as pain and as hormonal imbalance. So this doesn't mean that the pain is all in your head. Okay, that's not what it means, but it means that your emotions and your body are part of one system, and healing happens when we address both of this, right? So think of your womb as a sensitive yet a strong emotional memory space. It remembers, but it also knows how to let go when we give it compassion and not control, right? So every time you bring awareness and gentleness into your lower belly, you're teaching your nervous system that it is safe again. And in that safety, your hormones regulate, your cycles stabilize, and your pain begins to ease. Okay, so instead of trying to fix your body, start by befriending it. So awareness turns control into compassion. So when we are giving more compassion to our body learns to relax again. Okay, now this is a very small but a very useful sort of a mindfulness activity, sort of like a meditation activity that you can do. So, what we do here is that when we are maybe experiencing pain, or even when we are not experiencing cramps or pain, but something that we can do in general as well, is that we can sit comfortably at a place and place one hand over our lower or abdomen, the womb area, and one hand on our heart. Okay, near your heart space. Then we take three slow breaths, feeling your belly rise and fall. So as you're taking the breathe, feel your belly rising and falling. Feel that movement, and then silently say that I am listening to my body with kindness, right? Or any other affirmation that is making you feel safe at that moment, and notice any warmth, heaviness, or lightness without trying to change it. Okay, try this activity maybe during your periods, maybe before it, but this can also turn into a daily practice, giving compassion to your lower abdomen, to the womb. Okay. All right, let's talk about a little activity right now, which is called a letter writing to your womb. Your womb holds not just it holds not just physical life, but it can also hold emotional life. So memories of stress, love, grief, creation. So writing a letter to your womb helps you connect, express, and release what has been stored there, with compassion but and not with control. So these are some of the prompts you can use to write a letter to your womb, right? So what do you wish your womb knew? What emotions have you been holding up in your body? What would compassion sound like if your womb could hear it? What are you ready to let go of today? So this is a little letter writing activity that you can do. And now I'll be sharing a sample letter that you can write. So this is a sample letter to the womb for your inspiration. For example, you can see here, it says, "Dear womb, I'm taking a moment to sit with you, to listen, and to honor everything you've been carrying. You have held so much for me, the weight of my stress, my emotions, my silences, my strength. Even when I wasn't paying attention, you kept moving, healing, and holding me through every cycle. I know there have been times I didn't understand your signals or rhythm, but today I want you to know that I see you not as a source of pain, but as a space of deep wisdom and resilience." So this can be different for everyone. Whatever you feel like you have to say to your womb area, to your lower abdomen, to your uterus, you can write a letter and release those stored pent up emotions, right? So I hope this is something that you guys try whenever you get time, and kind of maybe keep that letter with yourself safely somewhere. Or if you want to maybe just write various letters whenever you feel like, you could do that as well. Okay, now let's talk about self care during this time. So I want to ask you guys, what are some self care tips or practices that you use to deal with your uncomfortable periods? So use the chat box to write what is your idea of self care, or what you do during this time. Rest, warm water, chocolate for Kanvi. Amazing. We all love chocolates during this time. What about others? Sri Lakshmi says she goes out to relax later, otherwise, tiredness leads to laziness. Okay, that's another good form of self care. Sayali says, I rest almost 4 to 5 days and eating home food, dark chocolate, spending time with siblings and parents. That's again a great way of doing your self care. In fact, dark chocolate is something that helps to relieve pain and ease your pain. So, great thing that you guys are actually having chocolates. Okay. Aishwarya says sleep, no energy to do much. In fact, sleep is also a great form of self care. Self care doesn't always mean that you have to physically or actively do something. Sleeping is again a good form of self care. Great. Jajapriya says heat pads help a lot, and also simple food. Yes, it's a good idea to avoid spicy food during this time. Right. You don't want to create more inflammation by taking in a lot of spicy food, so limiting spicy food is a great thing to do. Navya says take rest, listening to music, trying certain asanas to ease pain, eating soft food. Great. Yoga, soft yoga especially, uh, gentle yoga during this time is a great way to relax yourself and release pain from your body. That's great. Steffi says heat pads and lots of sleep. Perfect. Chandana says hydrating, warm water bath, enough rest, doing enjoyable, slow, relaxing activities which releases oxytocin. I usually read novels. That is an amazing way to, relax and calm yourself down. Yes, Shilakshmi, you can ask your doubt.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, yes, Shilakshmi.
Ma'am, is there something like if we eat non-vegetarian like chicken, etc., like when we are about to reach the menstrual cycle, it gets triggered fast? Ma'am, I have that experience. When am about to reach the menstrual cycle, if I eat non-veg, I only eat chicken. I don't eat any red meat and fish also. So, ma'am, is it that it will trigger our cycle? Like fastly it will come if we eat chicken or like that?
Not really. Non-veg does kind of impact your hormones in different ways. But does it trigger or does it cause it to come fast? It doesn't usually have much of an impact. But yes, we all have different bodies, and our bodies might react differently to different things. So if that's something you have noticed, maybe you want to refrain doing that. But again, it is something that differs for everyone.
Ma'am, so when it gets triggered due to non-veg, it is bad. So I have to not, I shouldn't eat that while I am
Yeah,
about.
limit the intake if you feel that a certain type of food is causing you discomfort or triggering your cycles, right?
Because ma'am, it is not good, right? Like we are triggering and it is coming. It should come naturally in the flow, right? So ma'am told to limit the intake, right?
Yeah, precisely.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, Vivek is asking, is it common that there will be negative mood swings only during cycle, or it can be otherwise too? So when we say cycle, we are talking about the whole 30 days or the whole month period, right? So if you talk about a particular cycle, like you're talking about the menstrual cycle, the menstrual phase, our hormones fluctuate and it differs for everyone, even though what we discussed is how it basically happens, like during certain phases your estrogen, once estrogen rises, then it falls during the menstrual phase. So that is the basic way how it works, but it can differ for everyone. So no, it's not necessary that only during a particular phase you will experience a certain kind of emotion. It can be different for everyone. Like even in the starting we saw that someone experienced mood swings before their period, someone experienced during their period, someone experienced extreme mood swings after their periods as well. So yes, to answer your question, it can be happening otherwise as well. Then you say, is there anything that can be done so that
No, actually, I'm asking about the days, means 3 days.
sorry, I
In that,
didn't get.
I'm
Mhm.
asking about for that period of time only, means when it
Yeah,
happens.
I get it. I get it, and that I was. That's exactly what I was answering. That it's not necessarily that necessary that only during the periods or those 3 4 days you will be experiencing mood swings when you're talking about your wife. So it can be that apart from that, there can be hormones fluctuations as well, right? And about seeing that your wife takes less food during cycles, I think someone else also mentioned the same, that this is a time a lot of us don't feel like taking in food, right? Maybe that's a lot for a lot of us, it's due to because they are going through so much of cramps and pain in the stomach that they don't feel like taking anything internally. So it is actually quite common among ladies to take in less food during the first few days of the cycle. So it's great that you are trying to gain awareness around this area for your wife. So it's really good to see that. Okay. All right. uh, Yeah, Dvijapriya says that I think it's good to eat what your body craves, not mindless eating, but what your body really wants. Yes, listening to your body during this time and giving it the love is something very much required. And yes, that is not really mindless eating. In fact, if you are taking the time to listen to your body, you are being mindful about it. All right. Now, thank you all for sharing your self care activities, what you guys like to do. Now, let's talk about how you can create your own menstrual self care plan with three sections. This is the areas that we would want to focus on. So, first one is body, right? So, asking how I'll support my body this month. So, is it that I need more rest this month? Is it that I need some better food, some good food to treat myself? Is it movement that I'm craving for? So asking yourself that, how can I support my body this month? Maybe it's allowing rest instead of pushing through fatigue, maybe nourishing through foods that ground you, maybe placing a warm compress when you feel the cramps. So your body speaks through sensations, your body speaks through all these physical sensations that you have, and responding to those cues is the most basic act of self-respect. So the first thing you might want to add in your self-care plan is asking, how can I support my body? Then for your mind, you know this is how you speak to yourself. So what's the tone of your inner voice when you are in pain or low energy? So maybe try adding gentle affirmations like, my body knows what it's doing, or I'm safe to slow down. So even journaling your emotions can help your mind to regulate what your body feels, right? And finally, your heart. This is when we talk about your emotions. This is the part about emotional and creative release. So healing often happens when we let emotions move, and that could mean painting, crying, dancing, writing, or just sitting quietly with a warm cup of tea. So, when you allow your feelings to pass through without judgment, you are making space for the calm to return. So, healing becomes sustainable when it is turned into a ritual and not a reaction. So, instead of waiting for the burnout or the pain to make you slow down, choose to add small rituals to care every phase of your cycle, right? So that's how we build our body to trust ourselves. Okay, so maybe after the session, try to kind of try to create a proper plan for you, what works the best for you, what you have seen till now has affected you positively, and make a self-care plan based on that. Okay, now let's talk a little about mindfulness. Mindfulness is the simplest and the most powerful way to reconnect with your body. And it is not about forcing your mind to be blank, but it is about bringing gentle awareness to what is already happening without any sort of judgment. So when you breathe deeply, your nervous system shifts from flight or fight to rest and digest, and that's when your hormones begin to stabilize and your body starts to heal. So deep breathing is something that can be really helpful during this time. Then mindful eating, that allows to you to notice how food makes you feel. So to eat slower, to digest better, which is going to directly support your hormonal balance. So we have talked about eating and nutrition during this time a lot. So being more mindful about what you're intaking. Then aromatherapy. So it's seen that sense of rose or chamomile or lavender can actually soothe your stress response and calm your uterine muscle tension. So aromatherapy may be using a diffuser, maybe lighting some incense stick, maybe burning a scented candle can also be a good form of self-care during this time. Then we have mindful walking. So walking is going to help you connect to your body's rhythm. So each step that you take is going to remind you that movement is not punishment, it's presence. So you're being present with your body while you're taking your steps, right? Then we have visualization. So you can imagine warmth and ease flowing through your womb and releasing what no longer serves you. So maybe just imagine bright pink light entering your womb area, entering your lower abdomen, and just imagine or visualize it releasing all of the pent up emotions you have and fill it with more compassion and love. All right. So, after mindfulness, we can now take a look at some of the therapeutic tools that support your menstrual and emotional health. So, let's start with cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, when it comes to menstrual health, most of us have been taught only to look at the body, right? The cramps, the bloating, the fatigue. Now, our body doesn't exist in isolation. The mind and the body are constantly in conversation. So, what the mind feels, the body expresses. So, these are certain therapeutic approaches that we will discuss right now, which will help us to create that bridge again, so that we can help the mind to support the body in its healing process. So, first is CBT, as we saw. CBT helps us look at how our thoughts can actually influence how much pain or stress we feel. For example, if during your period you find yourself thinking that, okay, I can't do anything like this, I'm completely useless, my periods are not allowing me to be productive. So, what you're doing when you're talking like that, your body is going into more tension and your pain can actually feel stronger than usual. So, CBT teaches you to gently reframe that thought to something like, my body is asking me to rest right now, and that is completely okay. So, you see, this small mental shift can change how your nervous system responds, how your muscles relax, how your anxiety reduces, and the perception of pain kind of lowers. So, the goal isn't just to think positive, but the goal is to think more realistically and kindly about yourself. Okay. After CBT, we have ACT, or acceptance and commitment therapy, which is another form of therapeutic technique. And ACT is about learning to allow what is happening in your body instead of fighting it. So, very often when we are in pain, our instinct is to resist, to tighten up, to say that this shouldn't be happening. Okay. But resistance just adds another layer to our stress. ACT teaches us to say that, okay, this is uncomfortable, but I can still be fine while feeling it. So, acceptance doesn't mean giving up, it means creating space for your experience, even if it's a painful one. Okay, so when you stop fighting the pain, your body starts to relax, and that allows healing to begin. That is what ACT is about. Then we have certain body based therapies, some somatic and relaxation therapies. So what they do, sometimes when our bodies carry the emotions that we haven't expressed fully, especially that emotion is carried in the pelvic region, which is very much deeply connected to creativity and emotion. So body based approaches like gentle yoga, deep breathing, or progressive muscle relaxation, they help to release that stored tension in your pelvic area. So when the body feels safe, your cramps ease and your emotions settle. So here the goal isn't to push through movement, but it is to move with presence and send your body the message that you are safe right now. For example, someone also said that they like doing asanas during this time. So that is also a kind of body based therapy, right? There are some more therapeutic tools that you can use. For example, mindfulness based stress reduction, which is also called MBSR. So, what is mindfulness based stress reduction? As we've already discussed about mindfulness, and we have already seen how mindfulness is one of the most research backed ways to help your body heal through awareness and breath. So, when you breathe slowly and with awareness, your brain tells your body that I am safe right now. So what that does, when you feel safe, the cortisol level, or the stress hormone, that lowers, that kind of reduces. So that supports the balance of estrogen and progesterone, which helps regulate your cycle as well as your mood. So even a 5 minute of focused breathing in a day can calm your nervous system and ease cramps and improve your sleep, right? So just think of it as giving your uterus or your womb oxygen and space. All right. After that, what we will discuss lastly is journaling therapy. So, writing is one of the most healing tools because it gives your emotions a safe outlet. So, when we hold emotions inside of us, they stay stored in the body. But when we write them down, when we give them shape, language, they kind of start to release. So, you can try certain prompts like, what is my body trying to tell me right now? Or what emotions do I feel most strongly during my period? So, writing doesn't have to be pretty or perfect. Okay, it is not for anyone else to read. It is simply a conversation between your mind and your body. So, when you write honestly, emotional chaos turns into clarity, and clarity brings in more compassion. So, you see how all these therapeutic tools we discussed, like CBT, ACT, somatic work, mindfulness, journaling, these are not just for therapy rooms. They are for every woman who wants to feel more at home in her body. So, healing the mind is one of the most powerful ways to heal the body, because when your mind feels safe, safe, your body automatically begins to trust you again and heal. Okay. Now, let us discuss something that impacts most of the women while we're going through our cycle, which is body image. So, a question for you all: has the diagnosis of menstrual disorders affected your body image? And if so, how does it make you feel? And even if you are not diagnosed with any menstrual disorder, in general, do you feel like your periods impact your body image or the way you see yourself? Neglect? Okay. Well, I will address your questions, but let's just I'll address it at the end. But right now, let's just discuss about the particular topic that we are discussing, which is body image. Yes, Sri Lakshmi is talking about maybe tenderness during this time, which happens with a lot of women. Sally, I would recommend you to visit a gynecologist because they will be able to help you better with the medical aspect of it. Okay, so Dijapriya says that she has gotten thinner. Okay. Vanipriya says feel like male. Can you elaborate on that? What does that exactly mean in your context? Okay, PCOS, right. So a lot of symptoms that makes you okay. Yeah, so it makes sense because that does lead to hormonal imbalance. Right, makes sense. Okay, so what we can see here is that our cycle, our periods does have an impact on the way we view our physical body, the way our body changes, right? Uh, okay, let us go into the impact of it in a bit more detail. So during our periods, we a lot of women in general, they experience weight gain, bloating, acne issues, maybe disrupted sense of identity, a lot of social comparisons, isolation and withdrawal. Like socially they try to withdraw themselves, right? So what really happens is that during menstruation, your periods and PMS, your hormones fluctuate and estrogen dips during this time and progesterone rises and water retention increases, which is the reason of the bloating, which is the reason of the acne, tenderness, moods dipping, and kind of feeling that heaviness, right? Now, it's very important to note that these are not flaws. These are just physiological signs that your body is adjusting and restoring. So the problem isn't in the body. It's the judgmental voice that we have learned to attach to these changes. So it's very important to tell ourselves that this is just my body trying to sustain itself. Okay, the least or the last thing that you need to do is to have that judgmental voice inside of you. So how are we going to tackle that? We will discuss it shortly. But before that, let's see what is the tone that we usually have during this time. So what a lot of women feel, they say to themselves that, oh, I feel puffy, I feel unattractive, I feel not myself, right? Or I don't feel confident in my clothes, I feel disconnected from my body. Now, these feelings are very common, but that doesn't mean that you have lost your beauty or worth. That simply means that your body is asking for more softness and not scrutiny. So, scrutinizing yourself during this time can actually add on to the discomfort that you're already going. So, when you stop viewing your body as a project to fix and start seeing it as a home to care for, it changes everything, right? And research has shown us that self compassion during bodily changes can actually lower stress hormone and support hormone regulation and even reduce the perceived pain. So as we have already discussed, that compassion is going to be your biggest friend during this time, whether it's compassion for your physical body, is it if it's for your emotional self. Compassion is the key here. All right, now what can we do to help ourselves in in terms of our body image during this time? First, mirror kindness. So instead of inspecting your body, place a hand on your belly and thank it for working so hard, right? Maybe just give yourself the kindness instead of trying to find flaws. Try to see the areas in which your body is helping you to sustain life. You know how hard it is working for you to go through your cycle, right? So first one is to mirror kindness. Second, dress for comfort and not for performance. So flowing dresses or flowing clothes during this time, they reduce pressure and signal safety to the nervous system. So instead of judging yourself that, okay, this type of clothes is not suiting me, or I'm bloated so I don't look good in so and so type of outfit, try to wear things that are more flowy. Okay, maybe wear more cotton, because that is how you feel more comfortable and send signal to your nervous system that, I'm safe right now. The third one is to soothe and not criticize. So, warm baths, oil, rest, all of these, they ease tension and self judgment. So, reduce the critique or that criticizing voice that you have, and try to soothe yourselves in ways that, works for you. Fourth one is mindful awareness. So when you catch self-critical thoughts, gently say that this is my healing phase and not my highlight reel. Okay, this is my time to heal. I don't need to look perfect. And finally, affirm that yes, I don't need to look perfect to be whole. In order for me to feel whole, I don't have to look a certain way. All right. Okay, now let us quickly discuss some of the do's and don'ts that we have discussed so far. So, listening to your body, what helps and what hurts. So, when we talk about do's, firstly, honor your energy level. Know that resting is not weakness, it is how your hormones and tissues repair, and your productivity does not define your worth. How much productive you are during this time is not going to define your worth, because your priority here is to give yourself that rest and not to overwork, right? The second do is to eat to regulate but not to restrict. So go for balanced meal, magnesium, complex carb to support mood and reduce your cramps. Thirdly, express emotions, don't suppress them. So we have already discussed how crying, journaling, moving, dancing can help, give a good outlet to the suppressed emotion. Emotional stagnation often mirrors physical stagnation in the womb. So what is to be done at this time is to release those emotions. Then do practice gentle movement. So, light yoga, stretching, or walking helps blood flow and release endorphins. Do track your cycle. So, tracking your cycle is the key here, because that helps you bring awareness about your body, how it works. So, tracking helps you notice emotional and physical patterns early on. Okay, after that, speak kindly to your body. Replace my body hates me with my body is trying to restore balance. So language rewires your nervous system over time. All right, some of the don'ts now. Don't ignore severe pain or heavy bleeding. This is when you need to consult a professional. Do not overexert or overcommit during this time, because your body's capacity fluctuates with different phases of your cycle. So respect its rhythm instead of forcing consistency. Third, don't skip meals or overconsume caffeine, because that will destabilize your blood sugar and it can worsen your anxiety, make you jittery, more irritable. Fourth, don't shame your body's needs. So, rest, cravings, mood swings, they are not signs that I'm being too emotional. They are human physiology, especially in women. Then don't compare your cycles to others, because every woman has a different hormonal story and that is unique to them. So, what suits someone else may not suit you, what suits you may not suit someone else. Then, lastly, don't hold tension in your body. So, relax the jaw, shoulders, belly. They are directly connected to the pelvic muscles. So, this again something we have discussed quite a lot, how holding tension in the body can impact your muscles tensioning up, right? So, these were some of the do's and don'ts. Now, we will end our workshop today with a few takeaways, which is basically everything that we have discussed so far, the main points from them. Firstly, your menstrual cycle isn't just a biological process, it is a mirror of your emotional and energetic flow. Each phase of your cycle offers a different message: rest, renewal, creation, and reflection. Your hormones and emotions aren't working against you, they are communicating with you. So, when you listen with compassion instead of control, you begin to balance your cycle even better. The womb remembers what the mind forgets. So, tension, fear, joy, everything is stored there. So, releasing these emotions through awareness, through movement or creativity, that helps both emotional and your hormonal harmony. Then, nourishing your body with food, rest, and kindness is a form of hormonal regulation and not indulgence. So, don't feel guilty about resting during this time, because a lot of us experience, immense amount of guilt when we rest, when we are taking breaks. We feel like, okay, I'm not being productive enough, I'm not working the right amount. So, don't think of it that you are indulging. Just maybe reframe it and say that this is what my body needs. My body needs kindness and not work right now. Now, your pain is never just physical, it's the body's way of asking for softness and not punishment. So, again, whenever we overwork, we are kind of punishing our body. So, the first thing that we need to do is ask ourselves, how can I relax more? How can I give my body what it needs right now? All right. So that is all we have for today. I hope this workshop helped you understand your cycle better and you were able to take something productive and insightful with you.